Thank you very much, Janelle, and thank you very much, 3M, for sponsoring our event this morning. To get started, I'd like to just go ahead and start from the left, and if you guys could go ahead and introduce yourselves to our audience to let everybody know who you are, starting with Dallas.
Good morning, everyone. Dallas Fowler from Digital Effects Wraps out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Chad Parrish out of Michigan, Graffiti Wraps.
Adam Sumner out of Burbank, California, Rapix Imaging and 3M's training facility, Rapix Academy.
Good morning, Matt Richard, Digital Effects Wraps, Louisville, Kentucky.
Good morning. Jen Carney with Carbon Wraps and Women of Wraps in Orlando.
Good morning, my name is Austin Smith. I'm with Paint is Dead and Pro Series out of Jacksonville, Florida.
I'm Justin Pate from the Rap Institute, which is pretty much everywhere.
Jim Miller, Atlanta, Georgia, and Miller Decals.
Morning, everybody. Casey Folk from PDX Wraps out of Portland, Oregon.
Luis Tirado with WBC Graphics / Blake Cage out of Orlando, Florida.
Thank you very much. So as a moderator, I have one job, and I'm probably going to be terrible at it because it means to try and stop these guys from talking after about 3 minutes. So instead of, telling these guys to shut up because I hate confrontation, if these guys start running along just a little bit, I'd really love it if you just start cheering them like they just won the Super Bowl. Just give them the biggest round of applause ever so that we can keep things rolling today. My first question, and Luis, this wasn't just meant for you, by the way. I'm sorry about that since you're the first one up here. But my first question for you is about branding. The Florida market is a huge space with a lot of competition. How do you make your shop stand out?
I'm always get the first and the toughest question. First of all, thank you guys for being here. I want to say thank you for Rap Magazine and 3M Commercial Graphic for having us here. I believe it's understanding the customer's expectation, knowing the products that you're working with to provide those customers with the best finished product, understanding what those products are capable to do, how long they're gonna last, what are the warranties, and the expectations. Also, doing your social media, exposing your work, letting the world know the type of work that you do, standing behind the customers at all the time, building relationship, and also I have a program that I run through my company, which is the MCS program, Matching Component System, that offers my customers a peace of mind to have some type of warranty when it comes up to printed film, laminations, and durability and what to expect. And I hope within the 3 minutes so I don't get a big applause and but yeah, mainly it's the build relationship with your customer, giving what they're looking for, don't cut any corners, wrap them up. And basically understanding the product that you're working with, so you know the limitations and what can you do, what you cannot do. So other than that, I think that's pretty much all I can say when it comes down as far as staying ahead of the competitors and branding your own brand.
Casey, next question is for you. When people start talking rap designers, your name pops up frequently as one of the best in the business. Where do you draw your design inspiration from, and how are you able to maintain your standards when dealing with customers?
Well, that's a good question. When I first started designing wraps, I was pretty much a one-man show. I'd take the phone call, I'd listen to the customer and what they wanted, and I'd spend hours and hours. I'd throw everything but the kitchen sink into a design, and just give them the full meal deal pretty much right off the bat. And I spent a lot of time doing that, and this was 10 plus years ago, And it was cool back then, but then I talked to a friend, a designer friend of mine, and he goes, Case, just simplify things. Don't give the customer everything right off the bat. Just keep it clean and simple. And ever since that, it lit a light bulb off in my head. You know, you're right. You know, I went from wrap designs that you couldn't really tell what was going on to something you could see from a mile away is kind of my goal these days. Case in point, like my shirt, you know, I want people to be able to see, you know, my company business from, you know, a long distance away. And I draw inspiration from, you know, Dan Antonelli. When it comes to like business wraps, I tell my designers, you know, if we hit a wall with a design, it's just like pull up Dan's site and see what he's doing lately. You know, just the wow factor and using different colors that are kind of off the wall that you don't think work together, but when you put them on the truck, they look really good. And that's kind of the business end is just kind of clean, simple, to the point, so you can understand what that person's business is right off the bat without having to take a second look. And then when it comes to the custom stuff, which is kind of my passion, you know, I draw inspiration from everybody in the industry, from Kevin at PG to Nick at Exotic in Australia, who's just over the top. You know, when I'm doing a wrap and you know, just kind of doing my thing, I'm constantly thinking, what's the next cool thing? What hasn't been done yet? And it's getting tougher and tougher because I'm drawing blanks all the time. It's like, you know, we need to. What's kind of cool now is, you know, I've got a shop of 13 guys, and that allows me to kind of do some fun stuff every once in a while, whether it be on my personal cars or a cool customer car. So I'm always thinking, what's the next cool thing that's going to hit the industry? And you know, I got some ideas, and the thing with that is it takes time. You know, if you're templating a car, I've wrapped cars 4 times before the final product comes out. So it requires some time, and not everybody has the time to do that. So I'm lucky enough to every once in a while to kind of play around with that. But hopefully that answers your question.
My next question is for you, Jim. I don't want to say that archaeologists are finding some of your early work, but you've been doing this a while. What are some of the constants from your first day on the job that are still very important in today's market?
Well, yes, it's true. 2019 marks 40 years for Miller Decals, so been around a while. But one of the constants that's been true from the very beginning, from 40 years ago to today, is hard work and work ethic. It's the things that drive you, and then dealing with your customers, keeping relationships with them, and dealing with their expectations, because anger and disappointment is unmet expectations. And if you can manage those expectations with your customers, showing them and you know, showing them what can and can't be done, being knowledgeable in the product, like Luis said, and staying on top of the game, you know, and that's what has been constant all the time. You've got to know your product, know what you're doing, and manage expectations, and just keep learning, like Justin says.
Okay. Justin, my next question is for you. You do training all around the world.
Yeah.
Our audience mostly is here from the United States and all that. So if you could do me a favor and right now just give away all your secrets that you've learned internationally to give the U.S. market a boost, or just maybe some hints about what's going on in other countries that maybe we can pick up on here.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I think I just did a video. I don't know if anyone who's on the Wrap Institute, but last month I did a video with Joffrey Vonderjak from Pro Wraps. And a lot of you know Joffrey. He does really complicated designs with different types of film and knifeless tape, and that's what he's really kind of, you know, that's kind of his name in the industry. But, you know, it was interesting to do this video. I was at his shop about 2 months ago, and when we did this interview, and he's actually pivoted almost his entire shop to where he's almost 100% PPF and a little bit of color change, but no design, no nothing. So a lot of coatings, ceramic coatings and stuff like that. So that's where he's making his money now. So he actually had the courage to, you know, he was in a very comfortable position, and he actually changed his whole shop, and he's making more money than he did before. So I think in Europe, at least, it's PPF and coating. I was just in Japan 4 weeks ago, and it still hasn't caught on in America, but I mean, the amount of dyno and interior wraps that they do in Japan is just stunning. I mean, it's really crazy, all the hotels and all that kind of stuff. And that's for me something that I did a video series on the Wrap Institute 3 years ago where we renovated my house and 3M sponsored the material, which is great. And I wrapped everything in the house, like the walls, the kitchen, the tables, all that kind of stuff. And it was amazing, and the amount of money that I saved in that. So I think if that ever catches on in America, and it hasn't quite caught on for a variety of reasons, but I mean, I think that's the big one is interior for sure. And I think ceramic coatings right now is the big thing. And also, I guess the last thing is the visualizer. So in my booth, if you come to my booth during the show, I have the XIX 3D visualizer with the Xeno, and we got the whole VR system, and that thing is crazy. And I don't know if you watched Metro Wraps, they did a post on it this week. I mean, the visualizer, I think, is the big thing. I mean, if I was in a shop today and I was in America, I would get the visualizer in a heartbeat. So definitely come check it out. If you sign up in the booth, you can definitely play with it and stuff like that. But I think that's the name of the game. So probably PPF coatings and visualizer, for sure.
All right, Austin, my next question is for you. Lifting up the market and playing neutral while still trying to position yourself to make dollars become tricky in the wraps market. What advice would you give the audience about your outward approach in dealing with competition?
I think that everybody deals with competition, and the best way to deal with competition is know your competitor as well as they know themselves. You really have to know what they're good at, what they're not good at. You have to develop a strategy in your market that works for you, that you can execute quickly, and that you can execute, to the utmost perfection that exists. But really knowing what exists out there in the market is key. A lot of the people that get to travel to these events, count yourself lucky because you get out of the local market that you're in, and you get to really see what the national level is doing. Make sure you bring back that national level to your local market. Grow your local market with things just like Justin said, interior, off-the-wall type of things that other people are scared to take on and try, was the root of my success 10 years ago in starting 201 Wrap in Jacksonville, and still rings true today. We're known as the guys that are the wrap guys in our market, and even other shops that do wraps will refer people to us because they just don't do it to that extent, or they don't go that crazy with it, and we're kind of the crazy ones that'll take it on. So just know what your competition offers, what you offer, and strategically place yourself in your market a step or two ahead, and that may be just in product that you're offering a step or two ahead. It could be concept. It could be where the market's going. Do all of those things to make sure that you're a step ahead of everyone in your local market.
All right, Jen, my next question is for you. Carbon Wraps is pretty well known for some of its very high-end vehicles. Not saying that my 2005 Frontier isn't awesome and you couldn't do a great job on that, but how do you manage the expectations of the super wealthy when you're wrapping Ferraris and Lamborghinis?
Yeah. So whether they have a Ferrari or a 2005 car, it doesn't matter. Everyone gets the same treatment, whether you have all the money in the world or you're just scraping by. So I think it comes down to customer service for us. We sell not just vehicle wraps, we sell an experience. So when you come to our shop, you meet with us for a minimum of an hour. We go over your car, what you're gonna like, what you're not gonna like. We provide accenting, or we tell you if it's chrome, if there has to be a seam, what we can do to hide the seam. We're very, very thorough with them. We let them know warranty. Your car is going to get detailed, what might get taken apart, what's not going to get taken apart. We take them through everything. They're always free to come in and check in on cars, which works against us sometimes. But they like that. It's an open invitation. We try and send them photos whenever we can. And yeah.
All right. Matt, my next question is for you. You've done some articles for us, both magazines in the past, and you're often gone to when it comes to pricing of wraps and when to walk away from a bad deal. How do you sniff out a bad deal and when to walk away?
When the client says money is no object. That's when you completely run away. I think the biggest thing with a good deal or a bad deal is just rapport with your client and respect. I think when a client respects and values the kind of work and the time it takes to actually produce, whether it's a color change, whether it's a full design and a rebranding, if they understand your process, understand what it takes to get it done, usually the rapport that you have with them, it's a good deal. I think when people don't understand what it takes to do what we do on a daily basis is when the communication's not there and people don't understand really what's going on and what it takes to get it done. So once you have that rapport with your client and you guys kind of agree of what's going on, I think the numbers flow easier and you can take care of that client the way they need to. So, but when they say money's no object, I usually run away because 2 days later it becomes a gigantic object and due by Tuesday. So,
Adam, my next question is for you. You started out as a sign guy, am I right? And came into Wraps. For other people in that position, can you maybe walk us through how you positioned yourself to your current clients to get more Wrap sales?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to make sure that your customers understand what your capabilities are. I think that's the most important thing. If they walk into your shop and you want to sell them a wall wrap and you don't have a wall wrap on your wall, you're making the biggest mistake you could ever make, right? So we've spent the last couple months kind of redoing and redesigning the whole interior of our shop. We have stuff from, matte finishes and satin finishes and gloss finishes on walls because customers don't understand what the difference is. They're like, oh, wait, it's a matte finish. Okay, and then they're like, wait, no, I didn't want that. I want it to be a little bit shinier. And then you put a gloss finish and they're like, wait, no, that's too shiny. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things that when you're trying to position yourself to sell those products to your customers, I think having those representations in your own shop is key. We've got textured graphics on our walls. We're about to re-wrap or actually wrap the entire outside of our building. We've been getting a lot of requests for different things and architectural installations. We have Dynoc installed inside the shop now. It's one of those things that your shop, no matter what area it is, we designed graphics for the inside of the bathroom stalls, right, in our shop. So every surface in our shop should be wrapped because when your customer comes in there, they're like, wait, I didn't know I could wrap a brick wall. We got this brick wall in our restaurant and we'd love to put our logo on it. So when we're trying to sell these products to customers, the first stop is to make sure that you're branding yourself to your customers, and the best way to do that is use your physical, brick and mortar location to show your customers what you can do.
Okay. Chad, my next question is for you. You've been getting pretty popular lately, winning a lot of contests. Your face is all over the place at SEMA and such. And of course, the greatest honor of all, being on our Wraps panel this morning. So talk to me about how being successful in competitions and getting your name out there has helped your business.
Oh, Lewis, you thought you had a tough one. I think honestly the biggest thing for me is I always start off with a customer is saying I'm an offspring of Jim Miller. And then I follow that up with a smile, it's just kind of how I roll. But no, it's amazing because you get to the hotel and you're on the second floor, and as soon as you say Miller, they bump you up to the top floor, which is fourth floor for me. But no, it's crazy because I'm far. If any of you guys know me, I'm far from anyone that likes fame and attention and all that good stuff. It's more or less that I surround myself with people that share the same passion that I do. And I did my first trade show. It might have been 5 years ago, and it was at a WrapsCon, and I placed in a competition. And next thing you know, I'm sitting up here, and it's something I didn't ask for, but it's just something that I went to that show. I got to meet a lot of these guys, a lot of you guys, and it's almost like a family. And when you meet that family that shares that same love, that same passion, and they want to grow, and you could grow as an industry, and I mean, there's nothing like it. So it's actually an honor, and it feels good to be part of something like that. So that for me is what drives me, is to be better with you guys.
All right, Dallas, my next question is for you. Let's talk about artwork and your client and how you can take one client and their job and turn it into a successful sales opportunity for other clients.
So design-wise, I know that obviously when they come in and through a little bit of brainstorming process and kind of really trying to figure it out, I think it's something over time, designers, rappers, anything, when you listen to somebody, take it in, brainstorm, figure out what it is. But I know for sure we're successful when They come in for the initial meetings, we do things, we walk them in the back, we walk them through our areas, they see cars being wrapped. I think that's really, and Matt being more in sales knows that that's really when we win, is when the printers are running, we walk them through the back, the installers are putting cars together. And, for us, I like to, when I'm thinking about the design, I try to think about the entire package, because it's essentially, we're all here and the film is great for cars, but I always try to teach people, even in the classes, not to think only cars, think about the walls. And so, obviously with what Adam said, I mean, we've sold a lot of stuff by every door in our building is wrapped, every wall has something, the bathrooms are wrapped. So when they come in, it's like, hey, here's a design that can work for your car. But I'm also thinking too, like how it can work for their business card, how they can take it, okay, paying the fees to own copyrighted images so that they can carry that to their Facebook, to their website, to other things where, it is the entire experience and the package that you give them. But it's also thinking about, how can I upsell them in a sense to where if they do need things, I know for years, us, doing wraps, there was, we didn't know you did banners. We didn't know you did yard signs. So having some of that stuff out and available, but I show images of other things. We actually have a nice, little gallery of pictures and car wraps that we've done for other people. So we have everything from full wraps to partials to boats. It's just something we can say, hey, here's, see what we did for this client here. And I think that's what's been the biggest, help for the entire design process.
All right, we'll bring it back down this end again. Luis, you travel a lot for trade shows to deal with wraps. People who come to these shows, what do you recommend they try to do at these shows, and why is it important for people to come?
Well, actually, this is a must, in my opinion. Is the place where you're gonna find out all the in and outs about every manufacturer pretty much that's out there. They're nowadays are dealing with different types of film. You can actually talk to them directly. You can do a lot of research under one floor. You don't have to go too far. If you're Shaq Perry's neighbor, there's not gonna be much going on up there, so you might want to travel a little bit. I know that a lot of you guys are pretty busy, don't want to stop what you're doing. But at the same time, I notice every time I travel, there's a lot of people having a lot of problems. They're good installers, they have good equipment, great facilities, state of the art, but they don't understand the process. So how can you get away with something that you don't know how is it gonna perform now and what to expect in the future? So here is the place for you to ask all these questions. Here is the place where you can come and take a picture with Justin Pay. You can come and shake Jim Miller's hand.
Matt Richard has a kissing booth this year too.
So, honestly, to be honest to you, I can't believe I'm sitting here right now. But I remember when I started going around, all these guys, I look up to them, and I was always asking them questions. Hey, what about this? What about that? Hey, I've been doing this like this, but do you think we should do it like that? What do you think? And then we share a lot of knowledge. And this is the only place, because if you call me to come to your place and teach you all this little trick, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. So come and see us here, pick up our brain while we're here, and so you can take that back home and build from there. So to me, it's very important. I will highly recommend to at least go to the show that has a lot to do with what you actually dealing with on a daily basis. That's gonna help you, and it's gonna improve your product and your customer service and everything in general. So it's highly recommend to be here.
All right, Casey, I got another question for you. Talking about design, what are some tips for shortcuts and some ways to limit waste in the design process?
That's a good question, and I got a good answer for that. Lately, I have been, when I'm doing either a color change, mostly color changes, I'm templating more now than ever. And what I mean by templating is just analyzing a car like a front bumper or recesses where I know if I put that in there, I'm crossing my fingers. If I do all the right steps, that it's still going to stay. What I do now is I just grab some transfer tape. I pretty much either masking tape or transfer tape, and I create that area. I create a little template. I pull it up, put it on the cut table, cut the material out, and it pretty much installs itself. And if you do it in the proper manner and you do your seams the right way on a body line, it's virtually invisible. And I know when that car leaves that I'm confident that that's not coming back, and the customer's going to be happy. They're not going to question it. They're not going to even realize that anything happened. So number one, templating. I do it every day now. I think Justin was at the shop and we did a video on templating the back of a boat, and that's kind of when I started doing it. It's like, I can take this back of the boat to a front bumper or a recessed tail light area. So that's helped out a lot install-wise. Design-wise, on a wrap, what's kind of cool is we have a design meeting every Tuesday morning at 10, where I have my sales manager, my design manager, myself, and a couple other guys sit in, and we go through our design log of what needs to be designed, and I'm just kind of monitoring it to see how the design's going, and because the designers don't install, so they just want to make stuff look cool, but I kind of analyze it and say, hey Chris, let's move that just a little bit, because that's going to help the install. The installers, quick, their time's going to be a lot quicker. We analyze whether it should be overlay rather than be in the print, because a lot of new vans have a lot of angles going on, and if you print that, you're dedicated to where that angle's at. If it's a phone number that we decide to do an overlay, you can lay it up there and see what looks good, in real life other than a flat screen. So those are some of the kind of things that we do as far as, simplifying installs and design.
Jim, my next question is for you, is regarding your shop. You've seen a lot of trends come and go. Among the equipment that you have to help you install wraps, what are your must-have items? Or let's just put it this way, if you were starting a shop, what would be the first thing that you want to make sure you have?
Well, starting a shop, buying the stuff, buying the tools, all that, it really won't make you successful. What you have to invest in is yourself. If you have limited funds and you want to start a business, you have got to go with number one. You've got to get out there. There's so much information out there, and I know a guy that's got a lot of videos out that, and he can, the videos are, there's good and bad videos out there. Most of us go to YouTube to fix things. We go there and look at them, and the problem with that is there's as much bad as there is good, so you got to really watch it. So I would strongly suggest the first tool you buy is a membership to the Wrap Institute. Okay, give me my money. No, really, it's for sure investing in yourself and your knowledge is the number one thing that's going to make you successful. All the tools in the world won't make you work without knowledge.
Okay. Justin, my next question is for you. Since you do work all over the place, let's talk geography and warranty. What are the 5 most important things you think about in your location when you're dealing with warranties for wraps?
That's a good question. And actually, before I get to it, I just, what Casey talked about in terms of templates, I think it's definitely kind of in the air. And so if you check out the schedule for my booth at the show, tomorrow at 12:30, Kevin Kemp from PG Nola is going to do a whole presentation on making templates for color change. So I've already created the presentation for it. It's pretty dope. So definitely check that out if you can. In terms of warranties, it is interesting. I think right now, I think it's just really, you have to be conscious of where you're at and how the material is going to hold up. I installed in New York for years before I moved to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, warranty doesn't come up much because the sun doesn't shine very much, so your materials last forever, which is cool. But, if you're in Texas or you're in Florida, the sun's going to kill the wraps, so your hoods and roofs are going to go bye-bye quick. If you're in San Diego, the ocean, the salt is going to corrode it, So you really have to manage your customers' expectations and really kind of know your material. That's one of the presentations I'm going to do in my booth this year is you really have to know, analyze the material and full print wraps. There's different laminations that you should use. Are you going to use polyurethane lamination so you get extra warranty? Do you need to use it? Extra cost. Sometimes it's better to spend a little more because your customer's going to be happy. It's also telling your customers that, they actually have to wash the car and they actually have to put aftercare products on it. People get a car wrap and then they don't wash it for 2 years and they come back and they say, this sucks. It's the same thing with paint, so you have to tell your customers. You have to say, look, this is what you have to do, or you have to sell them a ceramic coating, so that's kind of in the air right now. Is it the end all be all? It helps a lot, or sell them aftercare products and all that kind of stuff. So I think telling your customers, realistically how long it's going to last or change it up, I think is really important. I think also, it's a weird thing, is manage their personality. I see a lot of people get these wraps and they get, you try to sell them something that's loud and crazy and they're not that type of person. After 2 or 3 months they come back and they say, this is pretty, I don't like it, it's too much. Like when I moved to the Netherlands, I was doing full print wraps and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, we're going to wrap our car and it's going to be crazy. And she's like, no, you're not. And I was like, why? She's like, Dutch people don't do that. And I think Tadashi can say the same thing. Japanese people don't have crazy wraps on the car. It's just not part of the culture. And I've seen that in America. One of the first Wrap Institute videos, a series I made, was a brushed metallic on a red Jaguar. And I did it for my partner's friend. And after a week, he came back and he says, take it off. I'm like, why? And he says, people are giving me the thumbs up too much. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that kind of thing. But I would say the biggest thing today for you guys is know your warranties, especially for color change. Those hoods and roofs go after 2 years, and you go online, you say, like 3M sucks or Avery sucks. Well, you suck because you don't know your warranty, So, I feel bad for companies like 3M because they have to deal with stuff. It's outside, you have your phone and 5-year iPhone. Is it out of warranty? Sure. And you go to Apple and say your phone sucks, they will, tell you suck too. So I think it's just knowing your materials is the biggest thing.